Assalamu-Alaikum, Uncle.
Walaikum Assalam, Abu.
Uncle, I need your help. I need to know about a Sahaba named Noaman ibn Muqqarin radiallahu anha. I was searching in this book and I couldn't find anything.
Inshallah, I'll tell you the story of Nu'man ibn Muq'rin radiallahu ta'ala anhu today. Now listen carefully. Story of Nu'man ibn Muq'rin radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Nu'man ibn Muq'rin radiallahu ta'ala anhu was one of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a member of the Al-Muzaynah tribe that lived in the outskirts of Yathrib. He was first among those who embraced Islam on the invitation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the son of Ubayd bin Aus, an Ansar of Medina. Ubayd bin Aus participated in the Battle of Badr when he captured 4 men and tied them in one chain. For this act of binding, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam nicknamed him Muq'rin, the binder. Nu'man ibn Muq'rin radiallahu ta'ala anhu heard about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and was very much impressed with his ideologies. Nu'man ibn Muq'rin radiallahu ta'ala anhu was the chief of their tribe and he was very influential. One evening, while he was sitting among the elders and other members of the tribe, he addressed them. "O my people, we have learnt only good about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and of his mission we have heard nothing but mercy, kindness and justice. What's wrong with us? Why do we stay inert while everyone else is following him? As for myself, I have made up my mind to leave early in the morning to join him. Whoever of you wishes to go with me, let him get ready." Nu'man ibn Muq'rin radiallahu ta'ala anhu must have been a great chieftain. His words had a wonderful effect on his people. The following morning, Nu'man ibn Muq'rin radiallahu ta'ala anhu's 10 brothers and 400 horsemen of the Al-Muzaynah were all ready and prepared to go with him to Yathrib to meet the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and convert into Islam. He felt embarrassed to go to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was such a great person, without carrying any presents for him. There was not much he could carry anyway. It was a year of drought and famine in Yathrib, and much of people's livestock and crops had perished. Still, they asked help from their fellow tribesmen and gathered whatever sheep and goats were left. They drove the flock before them and traveled to Medina. Once they reached Medina, they met the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There, in the presence of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he and his fellow tribesmen, they announced their acceptance of Islam. They started to follow the path of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and kept the Holy Quran close to their heart. The whole of Medina celebrated with excitement when Nu'man ibn Muq'rin radiallahu ta'ala anhu and his companions arrived. Never before had a single family with all 11 brothers accepting Islam at the same time, along with other 400 men. The Prophet ﷺ was glad and rejoiced greatly. The sincerity of his effort was accepted and commended by Allah. Nu'man ibn Muq'rin radiallahu ta'ala anhu lived under the guidance of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and participated in all the campaigns with total dedication. Nu'man ibn Muqqarin radiallahu ta'ala anhu and his brothers were great soldiers too. Prior to the battle of Qadisiyah, which delivered Iran to the Islamic fold, a delegation of the Islamic government was sent to the Emperor of Iran to invite him to Islam. He appointed Nu'man ibn Muqqarin radiallahu ta'ala anhu as the leader to act as the chief spokesman of the Islamic government. When they arrived at the palace, Nu'man ibn Muqqarin asked the emperor to surrender himself to Allah. The plain speak by Noaman ibn Muqqarin radiallahu ta'ala anhu infuriated the Iranian emperor. He was angry and said, I would have dealt sternly with you had I not been bound by the international convention to respect the rights of the ambassadors. He then ordered his men expel the delegation out of the boundaries of the Iranian Sultanate. He then ordered that a bag of soil be tied around their necks. Emperor also warned them against the war and said he would bury them and their leader in the trenches of Qadisiyah if they ever thought of war. They took the bag of soil to the commander-in-chief, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, and said to him, accept our congratulations for the victory. The enemy has voluntarily surrendered his territory to us. A battle with the Persian army broke out, and the Prophet's army won. The victory paved the way for the Muslim advance into the plains of the Euphrates and the Tigris. Prophet's followers were still facing great threat from the enemies. Once, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu received news of a massive Persian mobilization of about 150,000 warriors marching to attack them. He thought of leaving Medina and facing the massive threat himself. But he was advised against this by prominent leaders in Medina. They suggested instead that he should appoint a military commander to confront this grave situation. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu appointed Noaman ibn Muqqarin radiallahu ta'ala anhu as the commander of the Prophet's army. Before the battle, they all gathered together and prayed. He gave instructions to his men regarding the tactics they needed to follow during the battle. The prayer gave them a new confidence. They were now confident of winning this battle. He then prayed, may God grant victory to our people. In the battle, the Muslim forces emerged victorious. The Persians never recovered themselves. The Islamic historians have called this the victory of victories. Everyone was searching for Noaman ibn Muqqarin radiallahu ta'ala anhu to congratulate him for the victory. Unfortunately, Noaman ibn Muqqarin radiallahu ta'ala anhu received a mortal blow during the battle. His brother took the standard from his hand and covered him and concealed his death from the others. He was killed during the second phase of the Battle of Nihawand on the third week of December 641. As people came searching for their leader, Noaman ibn Muqqarin radiallahu ta'ala anhu, his brother removed the chadar to show them the body of Noaman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He had fallen martyr but delivered the much needed victory. His death was a great shock to everyone. They sent the message to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu about the death of Noaman ibn Muqqarin radiallahu ta'ala anhu. When the news about the death of Noaman ibn Muqqarin radiallahu ta'ala anhu was delivered to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he placed his head in his hands and began to cry. He contributed a lot for his fellow Muslims. He gave his life for the prosperity of Islam.
He was a great leader and a great soldier.
That's true.
Thank you, Uncle, for today's story.
You're welcome, my son. I have to leave now. I'll tell you another story next time when we meet.
Ma'assalam, Uncle.
Ma'assalamu, Abu.